The first real magic show on television was a show that starred Robert Harbin, and Melbourne Christopher was the producer, and it was an hour live show done at I think in the theater that later became known as the Ed Sullivan Theater on Broadway in New York. At that time, Cardini was considered to be the top act in the whole world when it came to nightclub acts. And he did about, I think his act used to run about maybe 9-10 minutes, something like that. During which time he produced cigarettes, lit cigarettes, seemed like a ton of them, and then produced 2.5-inch billiard balls without a shell, you know, and that was basically his act. And so he was on this live television show, and he was concerned. He never appeared again on television, and he always said, in fact, he told me, because I discussed it with him a couple times, that he felt that if millions of people saw his act on Ed Sullivan, they wouldn't want to see it again when he appeared at a local nightclub. And he was firmly convinced that that was true, and everybody said, you're wrong about that, Dick. I mean, people will want to see it even more. But on this TV show, he had made arrangements, since he was so caught up in the whole thing. He made arrangements when the contract was signed that it was supposed to say Cardini will not be required to participate in the normal run-through performance. And he made them promise to put that in the contract. And I don't think they put it in. I think some smart guys went, yeah, sure, fine, well, you know, and then didn't do it. And so he was sitting in his dressing room about 6 o'clock. Show goes on like at 8, live. And a guy came in and said, hey, they're waiting for you upstairs for the run-through. And he said, well, I'm not required to participate in that. It's in my contract. You can go tell the director, you know, producer, he knows it. Guy leaves, okay, comes back a few minutes later. Hey, they're waiting for you up there. They're beginning to scream and holler. Get upstairs for the run-through. And now he's getting emotional about it, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not required to do it. And then finally the producer comes down and says, well, you're going to have to do it, you know. So now, you know, he's never done it before. It's a new experience for him. The cameras are new for him. The whole environment's new for him, and he's somewhat disturbed and disoriented. And he goes up there to do it, and the first cigarette slips and puts the huge double blister on these fingers right here, where he's about to also try to squeeze a 2.5-inch slick billiard ball, right? And it just shook him up so bad that he almost refused to perform. They had a big ruckus, and he said, I told you I didn't want to do it, you know, and all this went on, and finally they said, if you don't do that show, you'll never appear again in any of this company's production facilities, you know. And so finally, all right, I'll do it. And the show went on, and meanwhile, I'm sitting out here in Indianapolis, eagerly waiting to see the show. And he came on, and I told him, when he told me this story later, I said, well, I sat there and watched you. There was no hint of any kind of thing like that. It was as perfect and flawless as I ever saw you do it. And he says, it was very painful, and I was contorted, and it was awful, you know. And he was a very gentle, so soft-spoken kind of a person, and that was really disturbing to him.